Pokemon and Persona. Now, while that kind of seems like a very far-fetched analogy, but at the same time, it kind of seems like it would make sense. Let me explain. So, World of Final Fantasy, you might have been seeing some of my videos on it, and right off the bat, when I first saw it, I got this Pokemon feel. And now a year later, they're showing us a lot more stuff, and I'm getting way more of a Pokemon vibe, and then now I'm starting to see a Persona vibe too. So how and why and are you crazy is what you might be asking right now. Let me explain, mother freaker. So basically, I'm gonna tell you how I'm getting my Persona vibe and how I'm getting my Pokemon vibe. I'm gonna tell you my Pokemon and then Persona first. But then after that, I'm gonna go into some more details of the gameplay mechanics, basically. So right off the bat, you capture monsters, you train them, okay? That already, that sounds like Pokemon right away. And not only that though, these monsters evolve. So they can start from like a baby chibi, turn to like a teen chibi, and then they turn to adult one. They evolve, and whenever they're evolving, they're gaining new abilities, new moves, and getting stronger, basically. Again, Pokemon. And whenever you're giving them new abilities, they called it a Mirage board, because these monsters are called Mirage, and they call it a Mirage board. And like you could pick what move they can learn next and stuff like that. You had options right off the bat and stuff like that. So already you can pick what moveset you want your Mirages to have, aka your Pokemon, and you can take them into battle. And you know how in Pokemon, whenever you want to catch somebody, another Pokemon, you gotta weaken them. You gotta weaken them. You take them down to 1 HP, 10 HP, however low you can get them before killing them. Now that same concept is here in World of Final Fantasy, but it's more expansive. Sometimes you might just need a weaken them. Why can't I say that? Sometimes you'll just have to weaken them. Other times it'll be something like, okay, there's 3 on the field, and to capture one of them, it has to be the only one on the field. And so there's gonna be probably many different, rules that might be set to capture different types of Mirages. And that just adds for just cooler, makes it more specific. You really gotta plan out how you want to capture. Say there's 2 things on the field that you want. You might have to say one of them needs to be the only one on the field, another one needs blah blah blah. You're gonna have to plan out which one do I want to catch. I think it'll be fun. And so that, so those are the kind of things that are giving me the feel of Pokemon. And you cannot tell me that does not have such a big Pokemon vibe to it. But either way, let me talk about the whole Persona vibe, because that might sound a little far-fetched and a little weird. So already, Persona kind of is, the Pokemon in the sense that you're not actually fighting yourself. I mean, you are, but then you aren't. You have your Personas and they're doing attacks. And so already right there, it's kind of a mix as well, because World of Final Fantasy, sometimes you attack and then your Mirages also attack, So already that's like a very small minor thing, but just think about it. And the next thing is the idea of calling. So there's a thing you can do. You can call on other Final Fantasy characters. So basically from their respective games, like Cloud from Final Fantasy VII, you can call him to come in. And so each of these Final Fantasy characters are gonna do different things. Okay, sometimes one might do a powerful attack of some sort. Okay, another one might come in, give your whole team buffs, and another one might come in and give the enemies debuffs, So it all depends. And so why that gives me the Persona vibe is because in Persona, you cannot win without doing your buffs and debuffs. That is so important, okay? I learned this full force while playing Persona 4. I'm still in the process of playing Persona 4, but at the start I did not care about debuffs, because I was like, in Pokemon, I never thought about using the buffs. I'm like, yeah, if I'm fighting, unless I really need it, but barely and rarely would I ever use it. But Persona, every time everyone's saying, dude, you gotta use your buffs, you gotta start having better debuffs, status moves, they just kept telling me, pounding it in my brain, and I'm like, wow. And then whenever I started using them, it made such a difference. And I feel like whenever we get to harder parts in World of Final Fantasy, it's gonna come to that point where we really need to manage our debuffs and buffs and our attacks and stuff like that. And so some other battle mechanics in this game is the idea of, like I said, stacking. So there's a medium stack and there's an adult stack. For yourself, the medium stack when you turn to a chibi, and the adult stack is whenever you turn big. And obviously, depending on what size you are, depends on how many more you can stack. And whenever you stack, you gain new abilities, new moves, and stuff like that. And something that's very cool is the idea of being able to topple stacks. So enemies can also stack, and there's moves that the Mirages can have that can make the enemies drop, topple, basically, not be stacked anymore. And something cool with that, and this is also kind of a Persona vibe, because that also adds into your tactics. You have to try to topple their stacks as soon as possible, because whenever the bosses are stacked, they get stronger, they have stronger moves, they have different moves, different moveset basically. And so that could be seen as a Persona vibe as well, because you have to really think about that, plan that out, so right when you get to a battle, first things first, topple that stack so they don't do a lot of damage on you. So that's another Persona vibe right there. So that whole stacking tactic and just idea is going to play a very big part in the game, because they were saying whenever you're a chibi, you could ride on the little birds in the open field, and then whenever you go into battle, you'll start as a chibi, and then if you're adult, you'll start as an adult. So then depending on what form you are, whenever you go into a battle, that's how the form you're gonna be. So again, you gotta think about that. You don't want to run to an enemy while you're in a stack you don't want to be, and you could mix and match your stacks to get different types of moves and abilities. So this whole stacking feature is very in depth, and what's gonna make the game stand out, I think. And something that is amazing that they mentioned in this gameplay is online mode. First off, they said there's gonna be local co-op, and so it's like, okay, so I can't co-op with the game with somebody, but they said an online feature. Now think about this, what else is there going to be online feature? Now there's not going to be no time attacks, some type of gravity rush online feature. It's not going to be anything like that. We have monsters we're battling. What else do you think we would be doing online? Yes, you freaking guessed it, online battles in World of Final Fantasy. That just sounds lit, because I love stuff like that, because then you could really, it gives you a reason to grind, try to get certain Mirages, think of cool tactics with the debuffs and stuff like that. So oh my god, that sounds so amazing. I don't know about that. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a competitive ass person. And if I hear online battles, just like I did we got really competitive in Pokemon, got pretty as competitive as you can kind of get in Digimon. And that's the majority of my time, turn-based competitiveness lifestyle, That's just how I feel on this. Online, bro. Online for World of Final Fantasy. Spread the news. But other than that, that's all I gotta say, man. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Be sure to leave a like. I really, really do appreciate it. All your support is heavily appreciated, man. I love you guys. But other than that, so like I said, that's all I gotta say. So I'm gonna have to get out of here, and I will see you guys next time. Peace. You see, I'm waiting and they hating, and I'm sipping on my tea. Bad bitch walking past, may I stop you, please? And I'm hungry as a bitch, but this life ain't free. If I'm trying to get this money, I can't really shake a tree. I be working, it's a 3:15. When I stop